Okay, so we'll get started. I think we've got most people that are going to come. Thanks for joining us this morning. We are here to talk about economic development, downtown Spartanburg, and the commercial corridors. So I'm just going to open it up with a little bit about what we've heard, but what we really want to talk about is why this meeting was interesting to you and what you want to talk about. So I'll just kind of let you know, through the year-long process that we've had so far from community members, we've heard that there's a need for minority business development resources. We've heard that there's concerns about downtown being taken over by national retailers. Also, how to maintain momentum as COVID impacts small business progress. Need better skills, job matching, and some businesses don't feel welcoming to the Black community. And the question is why? And we've been trying to kind of dig at that and see what that really means. So I realized we forgot introductions, and some of us came in. So why don't we do introductions and then we'll kick it off. My name's Claire. I'm with Town Planning Urban Design Collaborative.
I'm Anna. I'm also with Town Planning Urban Design Collaborative planner. I think it's also entrepreneur.
Great.
I'm Chris C. Jefferson, small business owner.
Okay.
Mark Brown, business owner. Terrence Howells, small business
Blakely neighborhood member.
Nice to see you again.
Chris Story, work for the city.
Great. Well, it sounds like we've got a lot of small business owners in here. That's awesome. Welcome. Anywhere you want to be. Yeah.
Okay, well, Lakeisha, see. And over 30 years, I've been native of Spartanburg, has lived here my entire life, so thank you for that.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us.
Current planning commissioner, serve on the YMCA board, started a Larson Center board chair. I can go on and on.
All right.
Can we ask what kind of businesses?
I'm a realtor.
Okay.
And also have a small media company, did a lot of videography and commercial promos, other small business around. Nonprofit side of that, brand partnership, resources, skills, to young people, entrepreneurs, skills.
Bookstore that prioritizes Black stories year round.
Can you say that again?
An independent bookstore that prioritizes Black stories year round.
Like your shirt.
Awesome. That's wonderful. Well,
I also work with the Northside Development Group, where we actually incubate entrepreneurs. We graduated over 84 of the class. Vast majority of different industries, from bookstore to genetics, estheticians.
awesome. Well, have any of you guys gotten the chance to look at the plan yet? And it's not a trick question, just wondering if you've read it, if there's anything you see in it that's been good, anything that needs improvement. And then, of course, if you haven't, we can just kind of talk about what do you want to see in the plan?
I just briefly glanced at it. And I used to be the director of an entrepreneur development program in Westchester County, New York. And I noted a couple of things. One is, when we talk about racial equality, I'd like to see gender equality in any type of economic development that may occur. That the jobs are decent jobs that speak to the skills of the people who are applying for it. Industry and innovation, so that it's not the same thing candy store, liquor store, candy store, liquor store, candy store, liquor store. Some biodiversity. We need to protect the natural elements as we're building out, because as you chase away raccoons, the possums, things of that nature, all of a sudden they become a problem within the city. And then sustainability. What goes there has to be able to sustain year after year after year. And whatever the business is, with the sustainability, that money has to flow within the community to help in pockets of poverty that may exist within whatever those particular communities are.
Mhm.
And those are just footnotes that
Yeah,
I
thank you.
Piggyback off that, I know we have a great chance to improve wage equity. Entities and seats such as Spartanburg and economic development council members, they are aware of potential new corporations coming into the industry. And so if they are aware prior to them coming, then be intentional about training community residents with the skills needed
Mhm.
to land those positions,
Mhm.
so that they create more economic opportunity and success. So I feel there's a gap that we have a long way to improve about being intentional about making people aware of those skills that's needed for the workforce.
Mhm.
When you know that those jobs are coming into the area of have potential.
Yeah. So part of it's awareness and part of it's training.
Yeah, but like, what I've seen and experienced, way ahead of time. The agencies,
Mhm.
certainly. And we gotta make sure that we're prepping the people
Mm.
to be able to land those positions.
Yeah.
But see, that also means you have to have more community involvement or engagement, because the county council meets, and what's his name, Britt, County Councilman Britt is on that economic development. And he is one of the people that's out there trying to get corporations to come into Spartanburg County,
Mhm.
which will also benefit the city, because some of them do own businesses within the city. So we have to attend those county council meetings so that you are aware of what is going to be happening. You can't just come to city council meetings and sit here in the gym. It's not city council, it is county council.
Hmm.
And perhaps if enough of us get together, form a coalition or whatever, you can also, because everybody doesn't have the money to join. Well, they changed it to one Spartanburg now. But if you do a coalition and join as a coalition, you have your representative that goes to those county council, to the chamber meetings, gets on those economic development committees and things of that nature. So you're right there at the heart
Mhm.
of whatever it is. Then you can come back to your community and you can report whatever it is, and you can start making the plans for it.
Mhm.
I mean, well,
Yeah.
that's the way I see it.
Yeah.
Well, I reached out to Mr. Britt, and I appreciate that. He said, on numerous occasions, he will not respond to any of my emails.
That's why I say you go to the
And
meetings.
then I've gone to the meeting and actually a Britt addressed it as well, and that was the time, is what I was told. We lost the grocery store that was in proximity to the north side residents. We're already in a food desert, and when I asked a question about the food desert, I simply get a response. And then I asked someone else, and they said, well, we have a pick the week soon enough to address the issue. But it doesn't really address the issue, you can't give me an answer. So
That's why you become a member.
and so watching how I trade it, or making sure I ask those questions, not just for me. That the dollar closing didn't directly impact me, but it did directly impact the residents that I serve on the north side. So understanding the consequences of, now that it's a different type of industry, right? Where do I go? So then now I have to take a bus pass, go downtown, transfer, get on another bus, just to go to Ingles, take that girl, get back on the bus, go back downtown, transfer, and then go to their home. The inconvenience component is what I was trying to address, to see if we could possibly get some bus passes to cater to that, or find another means of transportation for
guess they figure food line is close enough, right?
Right, but not knowing, if you never ride with someone, you know, not knowing that you have to go downtown, get a transfer, get on another bus, go to the grocery store, come back downtown, get back on that other bus, to get to your home, you're not aware of the concerns and how long it takes just to grocery here.
And just to point out, several of us have had the experience of going to the county council meetings and county council intentionally creating barriers when too many black and brown faces show up in that space. They literally said all of a sudden they had COVID protocols, and anybody who lives in Spartanburg, that's how the county is when it comes to COVID. They're not really taking it seriously. So then suddenly have these protocols because there were gonna be multiple black and brown people in that space. It was very apparent that they didn't want us in the room. They already restarted the meeting that was supposed to be set at a certain time before we even got there and filled those seats up with police officers and any other barriers they could to keep us out. So many of us were standing in the hallway having to wait for other people to give up seats so we could go sit down. So there is effort, and I totally hear what you're saying, but understand that there is also these barriers, these structural barriers that have to be addressed too.
I understand barriers. My thing is, a barrier is stopping that. There's always a way over, under, around, or through. And so basically, we have to figure out how we're gonna do that. And we have a representative, and I'm putting that votes on the county council. Are we holding him responsible? We voted for him. Are we holding him responsible? You know, are we let me not say jacking him up.
So I did reach out to him, and again, he referred me to the respective people that I didn't mention earlier.
Yeah.
That's the response I got at the time.
Yeah,
Send me an email, and when I did, that's the response.
yeah, I don't get any response from you.
I think a lot of times, just to piggyback off of what everybody's saying, is we need meetings like these with the representation in place here.
Okay.
So the dialogue can happen, so they can hear like what's being happened, like when that group of people went to the county council meeting and they didn't even have a seat and barriers were in place, that type of conversation need to be had. And then from there, actionable items need to be put in place. What happens from this point, not just follow up with an email or follow up with, I'm gonna put you in contact with this person because it's clear that she hit another roadblock doing that. So how do you move forward from that point? It
Right.
has to start with dialogue and then actionable items at that point.
Yeah. So I agree with that completely. I know that there'll be times where even in our own office, our boss has asked us, and this is kind of a tangent, but it's how I can understand. It's that, Martin, I think I'm echoing on your laptop. You can, if you go to audio and mute it. I'm not famous, so I'm not used to hearing my voice. It gets me nervous. Yeah, I can show you how. What?
It's still like.
It is? I don't hear it anymore. But, okay. Oh, dang.
Someone go get a teammate.
Yeah.
Put it outside.
Oh, man. So I've lost my train of thought. Wasn't
The office.
with the, yeah. So our boss asked us, why do you, so I'm a designer, and he says, why do you focus so much on project management? I know that you don't like it. And I said, because people are emailing me every day, and the loudest person that's always in my ear, I have to go to next. And I know that's not always the case, but I do think about if you have a group that does meet, that someone knows that they can come have a dialogue, and you set up regular meetings and have that dialogue and then follow up with action items, that's the key to everything. Because I used to work for another company that maybe they were pretty intense, but every single meeting after they had the minutes, and the people that you met with had to sign off on the fact that that's what you met about. And it keeps people accountable, because people are busy, and that's not an excuse, but it seems like if you have something that someone can look back on, then they're like, yeah, I did commit to that. And I think it does help. And it's much better when there's organized kind of, you have a group, you have those meetings that are set in place, and then the action items. So I don't know if you already have groups that are in place that we can put in the plan. We put a lot of them in the plan, but if you were kind of talking about is creating a new one, or if there's any things that you think that we should actually put in the plan that say, have regular meetings with these and these groups. We're here taking notes, and we can do that. It would be a recommendation, we can't force anyone to do anything, but once it's in the plan, that helps.
Question.
Mhm.
The employer network, the one that's up there on South Pine Street, is that still functioning?
It's a membership-based organization of large employers, mostly industry. And they do things like they try to help their membership accomplish the employer-related concerns. It might be retention or benefits or that kind of thing. They're not in the business of helping people get jobs or connecting the community to jobs. They're in the business of helping employers meet their goals. That's who drives that shit.
Okay, but is there a way that perhaps we can speak to whoever their executive director or president is to explain to them that it's beneficial both ways? And to form some type, not just.
Well, the public workforce entity is the Workforce Investment Board, the State Department of Workforce. That's who's publicly accountable for, like what Terrence was referring to, the fact that, I'll just use the current example. We've got that, it's in the county, but that Oshkosh, where they're gonna make the entire postal system fleet, over time, that could be almost as impactful as being done in terms of number of suppliers and jobs. So the next question is, how do we position, or my next question is, how do we position city residents to get those jobs? And the logical partner there is the Workforce Investment Board, because they're publicly funded to help with this.
Is that still Aaron Engelmeyer?
Yes, yes.
And that's what the ride share program is supposed to be rolling out. The ride share program.
Well, the ride share program, one ingredient. It's, one ingredient. I think there's a lot to that question. And one ingredient is physically getting people there. Other ingredient is getting, knowing what skills match up, that kind of, there's a lot to it, but that's definitely one piece we're trying. And I'll be very interested to see if we can make it work. We may not be able to make it work, but we're gonna try. So.
Way that we do like we adopted the program at the north side where if excuse me, match the guarantee them the interview at least, if not the job.
Sure.
You know, it gives a place to hold, right? Especially if that person's applied and meet the number of requirements. And have those match to do the work, right? But they may be lacking one thing, that right here, they may need access to that event. So maybe I reach out to Ann or if we reach out to Ann, and say, can we make that happen where we say, okay, this person meets all minimum requirements. They may be lacking this one thing, can we guarantee them?
Yeah, and I think that, that's not my field of direct expertise, but that's the kind of engagement we need to bridge that gap that Terrence described.
So we do a grassroots into the public works, with Ann Ingemeyer and that whole group, and express to her that, these are the types of things that we want to see.
Sure.
Yeah.
Conversation to have.
And just speaking specifically with the plan, right, we're talking about how to put this into the plan, then maybe we can be very specific about how we engage people, even if these opportunities exist. Okay, so what if we had as maybe a budgetary or part of that plan where what we said about coalition, a group of people who are we know in the community, what if we start incentivizing people to come? So let's say we have we're trying to match up skills. We have it here at CC Wilson, and then when they get here, we get bus passes, gas money, different things to say, hey, we want you here, and we understand the value of your time, the value of what you may have had the experience of go through to even get here. So start that's ties into that whole equity piece. Some people, opportunities are available, but man, there's 3 or 4 barriers just to get to the opportunity. So we start saying, okay, we have this budget in our plan as a city to say, hey, we're not only going to present you more direct opportunities and make sure you're in front of them, but we're going to make some very good way. Come on out, we'll feed you, whatever the case may be. But if we have that in place, then it incentivizes people and it pulls people in by saying, hey, first assess and address your needs to even get you here. I think that's kind of the difference. So in fact, it just being another plan on that.
And that's something that could be added to the resolution that we did, because we don't have like concrete goals mapped out yet for that. So maybe that's a component that can be added, so that's one of the things that we're working towards.
Concrete goals in the plan.
In the actual resolution that was last year.
Which resolution?
Racial.
The council resolution. Okay.
And the community center is a central location. But I would add one thing, a big barrier for a lot of us is criminal record. We need to also do expungements, not just at a local church where many people don't go to church anymore, but you could have something in a community center that expunges that record and opens up the door so that a person can apply for a job. We need to do that. Perhaps it will cut down on gangs in the community, offer a way out. So, we need to be looking at that as well. So expungement of criminal records based on what it is.
Right.
Or even, so some of our artists have relaxed things.
Yeah.
Or something, so maybe that's a conversation with the HR department as well as with Ann Ryan and her team to see what they could look at or reconsider or not look at, right? For individuals that either second, third, or 19th term.
Yeah.
A lot of people are still just thinking,
Right.
for those that did, I really want to maybe it relaxes them, just look at it and say, okay, we really want to give you that. And then also make sure it's a livable wage, as Sarah said earlier. $10 an hour, just at the livable wage.
Right.
It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So then you work that job and another job, and then the second one becomes a hustle. So people, us to deal with this wage gap disparity,
Yeah.
right? Maybe what they're worth, what their value is not really considered.
I know
And,
that's a
most of these major
recommendation.
corporations do have community outreach people, and that could be something that we do. We reach out to the people at to Mitchell, to all the rest of them, and we have a forum with them.
one seven.
Yeah.
And also with that, and I'm only wax that,
I'll read it.
workforce housing.
Right.
Why are they developing at least one home a year to help improve their offset, the cost of living, right? Build a house for people that work.
Mhm.
Be willing to, if they can afford, it, especially if you're only getting $15, $16 an hour.
Right.
And work that into your practice. Now, they may say they're not developers, but they come here to develop the building.
Mhm.
So develop the people that work.
Mhm.
I noticed in the plan under the minority business development that the Start Me program is not listed.
The what?
The Start Me program.
Start
On
me.
the north side, it's not listed at all.
Okay.
Micro business
Here, let me-
accelerator programs, 14-week program. I have a flyer.
Oh, great.
I'm going to code the record.
Okay. So at this point, it might be helpful for me to read a couple of the recommendations and y'all kind of react to them. Let us know if they're something you like or not. So these are recommendations that are primarily related to minority business development. It's currently in the plan now. So number one is continue to support the Amplify program and consider expanding the Amplify loan program for minority businesses. Launch a grant program for minority businesses in Spartanburg. The city should partner with One Spartanburg to launch a corridor challenge program that would provide incentives for both entrepreneurs and owners of aging vacant shopping centers along the city's corridors to spur redevelopment. Remove barriers to employment for those who are formerly incarcerated. That touches on what we were just talking about. Establish a program that gives preference to local owned business for city contracts and subcontractors. Continue supporting efforts of One Spartanburg, Inc. to increase diversity and inclusion in the Spartanburg business community. Continue to monitor compliance with the city's living wage policy for city employees. Find ways to encourage city contractors and business partners to adopt living wage policies. So that definitely is something that we were just talking about. Develop a summer youth employment program to provide high school students with internships with the local industry. Develop an undergraduate internship program to connect students to local colleges. And explore opportunities for developing the artist live workspace that includes affordable units and shared amenities such as performing space and studio equipment. So some things that I think we didn't touch on was workforce housing completely. So we could certainly add that and recommending the meetings. What'd you say?
I hear One Spartanburg a lot.
Yeah.
One Spartanburg chamber needs to be more involved in the community, especially when it comes to being diverse and attracting minority business and supporting minority business efforts. So, I mean, this can't be at night. One Spartanburg, it has to be some kind of connected to the community outside of just plastering our faces on boards and stuff and not actually interacting with us.
Had a lot of conversation about, we were told originally that the reason why people don't show up if they're not invited to events. So we started inviting One Spartanburg and other groups to events, and it still didn't come and show up. And it specifically seems to be events where the Black and brown community are involved, and that's troublesome, especially when you have a DEI component of your business. So you either are working on this continuously and it's a part of your mission, or you're doing it for show. And there's a lot of for show.
I'm very concerned about the short part. Because it's a apartment too, we're not actually seeing anything happen with it. I mean, just look at the makeup of downtown. We don't have a Black restaurant, so anything that involves our culture for us to do. So that's a big piece of mine. I just feel my spot where it can be anywhere near each other.
Yeah.
And to piggyback on it, first of all, my name is Ron Court for anybody that hasn't met me before.
Welcome.
But I came back this year and I just started like reaching out to different leaders about different programs. And it's like if you're not connected to a particular group of people,
you don't know about all these opportunities, Citizens Academy, Leadership Spartanburg. You don't know about these programs unless you're intertwined with somebody in the city. So what is the marketing strategy to ensure that everybody has this opportunity to be a part of these programs that really like help our people?
Right.
And involving everybody. So we just limited it to a particular group of people. And then when I show up, it's like, well, for me, I can kind of like, you know, dialogue with a lot of people, but when I come, I kind of feel out of place because there are not a lot of people that look like me. And so then I'm outcasted and I'm treated a particular way because I don't look like them. So that kind of is a huge issue that I see being back in Spartanburg. And I really feel like that needs to be addressed. And the equity word does kind of, it bothers me a lot to continuously see that, but to go out and still be treated a particular way. And customer service at the county and at the city, it's still kind of like that negative connotation of how we are addressed. And if you don't fit a certain model, then you're kind of treated differently. And I think that's something that we really need to work on. Really have those hard conversations as much as possible to address it, because we're trying to move forward and we're trying to become more, because I don't think we are one yet.
Right.
But we definitely need to approach this and have more involvement and a better marketing strategy of how we are involving people to come out to these events.
There needs to be some intentionality behind it instead of just checkboxing, because a lot of stuff is starting to feel like a checkbox. At least one black person in the room, we have a black queen, and that's not true.
Right.
It's called the only syndrome.
Yeah. And that's the reason why a lot of people, like you said, when you feel out of place, you don't really come or you don't speak. But I'm always speaking. But I do feel out of place sometimes. It doesn't stop me from speaking my mind. But I do know some people that do feel out of place and won't speak their mind or don't come because they know their temple will take them to a place if something is said within them. And there needs to be some intentionality about how we communicate, how the elite of Spartanburg and the leadership communicates with the rest of the community. Because at the end of the day, we have to get back to they work for us, we don't work for them.
Right. Right.
There's so much conversation in the community about moving forward and being one without addressing how we got to some of the spaces that we're in and why the community is kind of not as intertwined as people would like it to be. Because to be, you know, we show up and we support Latin businesses and we go to the Asian and Pacific Islander owned businesses in the community. So we're not just asking for stuff just for the Black community. We're saying that this is a problem in an expansive way. Like even in some of these organizations, everybody at the top is white males. So we keep talking about equity to the point where people are just like, they say it, but the action behind it is missing.
Yeah.
Even, you know, we've been having this conversation for.
And even some of the white people that are in leadership don't want to say it, but they're intimidated by the white privilege aspect of this time. So they're not going to say it as much as they want to say. They might whisper some stuff behind the scenes.
Very separate conversations that we have. And then they will be in front of their superiors or colleagues, and it's a very different conversation.
Well, it sounds like so reading out the list of recommendations, to me, it feels like if we've been asked a lot, is there a priority? Are there priorities in the plan? And to me, what I'm hearing is all those programs sound nice to you guys and they all sound like words, but the most important thing is communication and accessibility. And right now, if there was even out of all of the recommendations, it sounds like the biggest thing is we need to have better communication and more transparency. Is that?
Not just communication, but to be actually heard.
Yeah.
And heard fully.
And regularly, like you were saying, on a regular basis.
And so that
But
goes-
listen to this, it's the best thing, I mean, they can hear you, yeah, we'll check that box out first, listen to you, that's a dialogue, that's right.
And what makes you feel listened to? Like what are, because sometimes people, I think it's hard to know how to show that their results.
Listen to what everybody here is saying, and I like what Brian is saying, because he's the newest citizen back in Spartanburg.
Mhm.
He's experienced without even listening to conversations like these, but it's results. It's one thing to have a conversation, but now we have to go back to putting actionable items in place, following up and measuring the results.
Mhm.
Ongoing.
Meaningful, sustaining results.
That's
Showing up,
Yeah.
being invited to events and then you don't come. And it's like a slap in the face that like I took my time to reach out. And
Mhm.
these organizations are not showing up, you're not in the way.
So they have to be like,
You know, asking for resources in advance, months in advance, and constantly going back and, being professional, and only to find out that you're not coming because you don't really want to help this community.
Mhm.
So and I know from personal experience, but it's all been a learning lesson, and being able to reach out to my counterparts and get advice, and talk to different people about moving forward.
Mhm.
So like, it really does hurt, and people don't know how much time these individuals spend
Mhm.
collaborating and coming up with ideas and doing stuff that we can, but we get slapped in the face and continuously have to say, thank you so much
Mhm.
for wasting my time, basically. And like, I really feel a certain type of way, and I'm almost like in anguish because I understand like how difficult it is to plan and prioritize and want something to be so big, and to get out here in the community and go to my people that have heard nothing about what's going on.
Mhm.
Because we don't communicate.
Yeah.
We don't have that desire to really bridge that gap. And like, I get so tired sometimes of going to meetings because I'm like, they probably gonna say something that's so really off the wall BS. And
Mhm.
I show
Mhm.
them.
Yeah.
So that I can go and communicate with people regardless of what they look like.
Mhm.
Because that doesn't matter to me. It's about letting people know what we have here and that it's available to everybody. Now, there is a flip side to all of this because we have so many people working 2 and 3 jobs and they're not able to attend
Right.
community events, and they're not able to spend time with their kids
Mhm.
and to see people like that when there used to be a community involvement where we all get together and did things. People wanted to come out, people wanted to interact.
Mhm.
People wanted to be a community, but now when we start creating and putting all these barriers in front of it, nobody wants to be a part of anything. Nobody wants to come out. It's a struggle when they don't see other people that look different from them being out there. Then we play kickball once a month on Sundays.
Mhm.
We can get the same 10 people who show up every time.
Mhm.
The language inclusiveness is so important, and making sure that we understand that, we understand English is the primary language, but that's not the only language. And so when other individuals go to these different websites, they should be able to navigate and switch to their native language. But not only that, when the EMS system alert goes out, I can read it. But imagine if it came in Spanish.
Mm.
We would be so paralyzed. So think about the Spanish or the Greek community, those people that need access to those amenities, who don't know there's a flooding under the underpass. You
Right.
shouldn't go that way, but you
Right.
can't read it or you can't translate it, so it's just gobbledygook. But you send it to my phone, and I can't stop people sending those alerts.
Right.
Make it so it's usable for everybody.
Yeah.
Everything that we have should be translated in multiple languages.
City council meeting specifically,
Mm.
and something that we asked about, because the thing is, I've asked about it being translated, and the response that I got was that we don't have enough citizens that are Latinx to do that.
Mm.
But I never got an answer as to what is enough citizens who would be Latinx in order for that to happen.
Mhm.
Didn't get an answer on what that number would be, and to me, there's only so many of us that show up at city council anyway, so we start bringing in that community because we're making that effort already.
Mhm.
what does it matter if one or three people show up? That's another household that you just brought into the community that can now be involved. We miss out on talent and resources because we're not actually doing the parts of this racial equity resolution that we claimed that we were going to be pushing forward, and it was going to be forefront of everything that we do, but that's not the reality of what's happening.
Yeah.
So that's really.
So it sounds like this kind of coming out of the discussion a little bit, but the funding, I mean, cities only have so much money, right? And we all know that. And so once you start funding towards translating services and that kind of stuff, it'll have to go away from other things, which is fine. But it sounds like that a larger community needs to be part of the funding decisions of where that money is allocated. If equity needs to be part of funding, or the funding needs to be more driven towards more equitable things like you're talking about, that's a clear recommendation. Yeah.
Everything that everyone needs to need and feel safe inside the space.
Mhm.
So that's a big issue.
Yeah.
And different
Absolutely.
types of funding. Because in foreign countries, you have something called susu. Now, susu is, you see all of these Asian Indians. And today, for 2 years, you see one of them that has a gas station and variety store. 2 years later, you might see somebody else because they've gotten the money to go on and open up another business. Then another group of them who is part of that susu comes in. It's almost like a pyramid thing, but you gotta trust the people that you're putting that money, who are holding that money, so that you can open your business. So that's something else that we have to look at, is other means of finance. We can't just always look to the city for a grant, look to a bank for a loan. Sometimes we have to look within our own community to finance a business that we know will be viable because we trust the person that is going to open that business. I think that also helps to build up a community, and that money can stay within that community and flow. It lifts the boat for all of us.
And I think that, I've been disappointed this year at, for the first time ever, we've had substantial resources available exclusively to women and minority businesses. And we haven't been able to deploy, right? And so I've been disappointed in that.
But who knew about it? She's sitting right here, she has a business. Did you know about that?
Talking about bringing back the burger fund and the sword fund.
Those two funds in particular, you had to already be operating prior to COVID-19.
Yeah.
Some of us weren't.
Yes, but they might not work for your business as a startup, but they are for small minority businesses, and there were plenty of those before the pandemic.
But that still comes back to her
For
question.
those that actually handle those businesses. You know what I'm hearing about this? That, no, I heard about the sword the other day. But, and I actually helped implement and get businesses started, but when did I hear about it? 2 days ago.
No, we sent you sword information, we
I want
sent
you
you
to check
sword.
your resources, and send it to me again, and we'll look at the data, but I can promise you that it's not here.
Well, we sent it out far and wide to a bunch of email addresses.
I promise you, because if I had prints, I would have shared with every entrepreneur gets emails from me often, and they even told me to stop. But because I'm vigilant and very resilient, I continue to send it.
Well, we did 2 council meeting presentations, and sent it out to hundreds of email addresses.
What about the small, what I call cottage industry business that I might be running from my garage or from a spare bedroom in my house? And I built up a business, but yet still, but I have a viable client or customer base for my product. Okay, I need to expand. What's available for me? Small Business Administration
you know, the 7A program and some of the other things, are they going to help me?
There's a program called North Carolina. They have a witness center. They just started this year. That program is available to anyone. They also are helping us with business programs. So we're taking a look at the Spartanburg funding program, to look at how to change that. And hopefully we'll roll that out this year as well.
Where is it located?
So Community Works Carolina is located in Greenville. They're a partner with us, but they could serve Greenville, Spartanburg.
And I'm hard for the record, she's an amazing woman. We just had a office on Thursday. She see what the problem is. On the safety communication, like I literally hear from her almost every 2 days without fail. So, were those emails sent to those people that have business license?
We don't have an email database.
Okay, I just wondered, how, you know, how else did the correspondence go out to individuals about sewer and the other opportunities? Went out to everyone that owns, has a business license, and those that are legitimate businesses within where those opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you what we did do. We did 2 council meeting presentations, multiple press activities. Emailed it out to, I don't know how many email addresses total, but I can check, and had information at least a couple of small businesses. And I asked Natasha what other, small businesses have been, so I asked Natasha.
Is that an opportunity though, to just have a database of businesses that have a business license?
Yeah, I mean, we built, the city built that Black Business Directory.
Yeah.
And that didn't exist before last year. And so we have that database. I believe the information to that database.
Wait, might that include the Citizens Academy too? Not the Citizens Advisory, which is made up of the neighborhood association presidents. We live in the community, we can reach out to the small businesses within our communities.
Sure.
So not just to businesses, but also expand who you reach out to.
I just want to add, I think that's the thing right there, right? I mean, okay, we look at the Black businesses and the generated at the site. Well, how many of those were actually qualified to get access to those ones? We talk about Spartanburg, you had to have certain things you had to have in place, you had to be functional, you had to have this this knowledge, this understanding of business and where you're at, and most people just did not qualify for it, right? So those funds were left, and I'm assuming that's what 1% said that we want to roll it back out, because there was opportunity. It was like, hey, it's here, it's like having a state dangling, and then, but it's too high to reach, and that's the problem. So it's like, how do we prepare these businesses? So even all the businesses on the website, how many of those actually qualify can get access? It showed how many. It showed, I think it was 60-something Black businesses that applied, but how many could actually get the funds? How many could actually, but the numbers that were put out were the ones that applied for it, right? But how many actually got it? And then ultimately what the issue I think is, we have to have truth to power, right? So we can speak truth in here. The thing is, if we do not have, we have to just be real with each other. There has to be very specific intentionality when it comes to Black leadership. So the city has to empower Black leaders, Black representation to directly affect Black community. I mean, Black and brown community. If we have all these grand ideas, leave this room, and then there's nobody who's in position that says you're tasked with getting this back to this community. You are tasked, and that's what you operate for, and we're funding it, or we're paying you, or we're whatever the case is, we're stipending this coalition, or whatever the case is. Your task is to get it back to this community, because we understand that they may not hear it or get it from our ear. And until we do that, we're going to keep missing these opportunities. We're going to keep getting funds like by Burbank, and then we're going to miss out on. Like, where all those funds either go?
The messenger matters. So even if the city were to put a lot of stuff out, then there's a trust barrier. We don't know what we're talking about barrier. They're not going to go through that barrier. It's the messenger who puts the message out there actually matters. So if they get it from one of us, okay, they'll probably apply for it. They come to the city, like, yeah, it's gonna be all kinds of people, all that.
And that's just not us saying that, because even Mitch has said, you know, people don't trust the city, and there is some honesty to that.
Sure, and I mean, I don't disagree with the messenger matters piece at all. I mean, I think that is an important aspect, and that's one of the reasons why we've been trying to do things a little bit differently over the past year to try that. And I think it's important to be candid when there's a swing in the midst, right? I mean, when you try something that doesn't work, and some of the Monday morning quarterbacking we're doing now about bring back the bird is necessary. It's helpful.
Chris, I want to apologize. He did send it back June. I did that. And I did share it with the Starting Entrepreneur. So, but again, did it and send it and keep moving. So you did send us some more information. Natasha actually did send it. So no need to ask them.
Okay. Thank you. But I mean, I think we all acknowledge that there's two gaps that I see, that I've heard. One is I think messenger and message gap. The other is program structure and design. Yeah, right. You know, that there's things that are necessary to move the minority business community forward that get the programmatic impediments keep from working, or program design problems. And I think those are separate but interrelated problems that we can attack. Figure out better ways to get after those things. But I don't think it's anything wrong with saying, we tried this, here's what we did wrong about it, let's do right the next go around, you know.
And how many empty commercial spaces does the city own any?
No, not commercial space. We have a lot of residential lots that we.
That are dual zoned?
I mean, I don't think we're not sitting on property we could lease out to businesses for, if that's the question.
But you can't sell that.
Sure, we have, and we will do more to try to do that. I mean, one of the challenges we run into a lot of sort of what I think you could think of as chicken and egg type challenges, you know, where we, for example, the number of minority-owned construction contractors. That's a classic chicken and egg question. They have to have business to grow to get to the point where they can compete for the big contracts. But usually you can get the big contracts is where you can exercise leverage. So here we got this chicken and egg problem where we got to figure out how to grow local minority contractors to that point where when the big project comes, like the courthouse or something like that, they're ready to. So where do you try to intervene? You know, and it's a both. In my opinion, it's both. You've got to try to support the growth of the very small, and then you got to try to really aggressively recruit the larger ones as well. So I think it's a both.
So we've got
They work as subcontractors under a major contractor. That does not give them credits if they have enough of that experience. And then you have that contractor's licensing that they have to do. And the course is taught over at Spartanburg Community College. I mean, if I'm working on a job, how do I get over to this college during the day? For this class?
So we've got about a minute or two left. Just want to be timely. I know everybody's got stuff they've got to do, but
I would say, like, again, performance outcomes. One thing I know about Spartanburg was a lot of small businesses can't get it because of the bookkeeping, of the financial aspect, of the financial records. Well, in the meetings prior to mentioning, it should have been an aspect of dollars allocated towards bookkeeping or accounting, because we know they have to be approved in order to receive the funding. So what could be the gaps or barriers to make not be approved? So I believe there's a big budget allocated for bookkeeping. So the next month, we need to look at it. So these Black and brown businesses can have their records in order, so they have a better chance of getting a loan. development incentives, I seen it in the plan, that's gonna be really important. But again, performance outcomes for everything, even contract, I own the contract company, that I do work with the community, it's leadership and still in my barriers for me to get my company, out there on the jobs. So how does that fare well with other people, other minority contractors, and myself, can't even get in? I mean, so there's a lot of growth in that area. And the ones who get contracted in, I'm hearing that the GCs will have them working like 1 or 2 weeks. Then we tell them that it's no more work and we'll call you back when there's work. And they never receive a call back. And leaders don't know that because there's no accountability pertaining towards outcomes, minority contractor outcomes. Like, I want to know what the developer, like, hey, what's this percentage ratio of contractors that we use? If it's a year job, okay, how many minority contractors would you use for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year? And then continue, and that's how you know you're improving in areas, because we have those benchmarks to now move forward on. And so just take.
You're assessed by outcome.
What it says here doesn't get done.
And let's, yeah, I mean, I think having more intentional dialogue like this and documenting what the experience is important. Because you're right, there are things that happen all the time that people presume that the city knows about, and we don't know, right? You know, the inner workings of something like that. So I appreciate that.
So
the other thing I wanted, that was on my mind to mention, and I know it's time to start making it go, I don't have to go.
can I have it? Okay. It'll go in my
for the
folder.
Real estate
Great.
community,
Okay.
it's still possible to,
Cool.
landlords
Okay,
and
awesome.
landlord
I don't know
tenants
if he's
pursue the
got it.
COVID eviction prevention money for another couple of months, and the last we heard on Thursday or Fridays that there was a couple $1 million left in Spartanburg County. That's
And that's fine. Because
Yes,
I really am. a
That's just
designer,
that's a,
and
that's
I
a,
do a lot
we're
of
talking about a
development.
20-year plan, that's an
Know
app,
so much more
you know.
about this. I want to make sure your comments are heard.
I honestly don't know.
Write your comments in. I'm gonna do my best to transcribe it, but I'm not, it's not gonna be perfect. Y'all know so much more about this, and I want to get it right.
So no, it's great. Like, so prices are rising, rents rising, we got half of our citizens,
Also,
you know,
the document
paying
is
more
on
than
the
30%,
website.
you know, especially the low income, the high quality.
The email
So
account goes to me.
it's great.
And so if you write it in there, that's what that's our direct contact, and you can put it in the plan verbatim, rather than me trying to translate, you know.
What I suggest.
I'm not perfect with
was
this. We're learning. Well, thank y'all for showing up. I really appreciate this. Yeah.
Rental vouchers, and actually go for home purchase. And they stopped it right now, so I don't know why. They said they would let us know from another, so we're going to continue that. But with that said, with $1 million of that money that we're talking about, what would happen with that person, that could eliminate, watch this, 166 people. It would eliminate their down payment system. I mean, their down payment, their closing costs, and maybe give them purchase points to lower their payment. 166 people could eliminate the entire and pay for credit restoration for 6 months. We could eliminate all those barriers, $1 million. And buy the home, buy home.
Right.
And then now we're talking about how density matters, how these big houses matter. And so the intentionality of that is like, hey, we're gonna help you out, catch you up, but then what? We're gonna need another $9 million next year.
Right.
To keep. So we could actually help home ownership and assets with just $1 million of that. Imagine being able to move to your first time home, you don't have to worry about a down
A
payment.
lot of people don't know you can use your section eight to go towards purchasing a house.
And BB&T used to accept it, but they stopped.
BB&T don't do it. We have 2 lenders right now.
Carolina Food does now.
Yeah.
Terry Hendricks is accepting now.
So Mr. Maryland, what the happen,
Sharon.
charity, yes. Just imagine if the city were to help try to promote that, with the housing authority, like that, this is what you can do. If we're talking about affordable housing and the homelessness situation, and the homelessness